Hello. How are you today? Let's see if I can actually see comments this time. Show. Okay. My name is Teresa Micheletti, and this site is called Take What Rings True. So, the whole idea is I'm going to be sharing spiritual thoughts, and you can decide whether you believe it or not, because you should just take what rings true and let the rest go. We're going to ask that angels clear your room, clear my room. And today I'm going to be talking about going with the flow. So, if you go with the flow of life, it makes your life easier instead of fighting things in life. There's a famous to me, meditation about just flowing in the stream where we allow God to flow and take our boat or our canoe and just guide us through the stream. Instead, we have the stream of life and we're in our little lifeboat and we grab the brambles, we grab the bushes instead of just letting life flow. So today I'm going to be talking a little bit about what Francine and Rahim, two spirit guides who would come into trance, talked about, and my conclusions of those ideas. When we block our path, then we block the love that comes to us so easily because we're busy paying attention to the problems and paying attention to the difficulties of life instead of just letting life flow. As you spiritually advance, you become more sensitive to negativity. If you don't protect yourself with tools of protection, you often unknowingly pick up negativity. So if you think of yourself like a tube or a sieve and let energy not belonging to you just flow through you, mentally think of clearing your energy each day. Don't let any negativity stick with you. Let it flow off and away from you. Do it multiple times of a day if you need to. One tool I adore is the blue light, blue flame. So there's the frequency of a white hot blue flame neutralizes energy, negative energy. So if you think of someone sending mean thoughts to you or hurtful thoughts to you or they're jealous of you, then if you think there's a wall or put yourself in a bubble of blue flame, then when that negativity hits the blue flame, then it just neutralizes and dissipates and just goes away, which is a nice thing. So use the blue flame, surround yourself with a bubble of blue flame, and your vibration will stay higher and you won't be as affected by people in lower vibrations. When we think we're going through the flow of life, we think we're just going along, and then we get to a problem or we get to an experience that's negative and we stop. We just stop the flow of life because we're busy in a whirlwind of that problem or a whirlwind of that negative emotion, that negative energy. So instead, think of gathering in the oars from your boat, gathering in your arms, and letting God guide your boat. You will get through whatever it is. Instead of fighting it, go with it. We worry, we struggle, we fight and stop the flow of life. When negative experiences come, process your feelings. How do you feel about it? For example, if someone writes you a mean, hurtful note, or they say something to you, or they email you, then stop and think, do I need to hold on to this for any reason? Do I need to react to it for any reason? Don't let yourself be a doormat. Of course, stand up for yourself. But then stop replaying the event over and over and over again in your mind. That's not letting life flow. So process that emotion. Do a primal scream, cry, go punch a pillow, get a cardboard box and kick it until it's smashed to nothing. But let go of that emotion. And then think, does that emotion keep coming up? Is there something about this that I need to pay attention to? And don't send the negativity back to the person. It just boomerangs back to you. If you need to stand up for yourself, do it. But don't send them negativity. That's not helping anything. And choose not to participate in their negativity. They're sending negativity to you. You don't have to keep sending it back and forth. That's not helpful. Use the blue flame, examine your emotions, and then let it go. So, as I said, don't be a doormat, stand up for yourself. Sometimes you need to fight fire with fire. You need to use righteous anger. If someone is harming a child or someone's harming somebody who can't fend for themselves, then use your righteous anger and let it go. Let that situation be handled and then let it go. For instance, I found out my sister's bank account was drained and she was ill and couldn't fend for herself at that time. So I made sure I called the sheriff's office. I um, confronted the perpetrator and explained that the ATMs have cameras. So when you're using her ATM card and draining her account, they can do a timestamp and see it was you and see the amount of money you took out of her bank account. So stand up for yourself, stand up for others when you need to. Anytime someone can't fend for themselves, sound the alarm. You may need to fight fire with fire. And then notice your emotions. Take a breath. Let go of the emotions. If you don't need to hold on to them for some reason, then let them go. Use the tools, scream in the closet, the primal scream, cry, let it go. Find some way to let it go. Go punch your pillow. Don't let people walk over you, but that doesn't mean that you can't stop giving your energy to them. So you've dealt with this situation, then stop replaying it, replaying it, replaying it. When you do that, you stop the flow of life. You're just living in a little whirlwind of whatever that emotion is. So say your boss is awful, mean, hurtful, or your mom is awful, mean, hurtful. Rahim, the spirit guide, said that the way we handle that is, okay, I can't cope with this person. I have a fear of coping with them. So therefore, I'll just use the emotion of hate. I hate my boss. I hate my mom. Well, that emotion is not changing them. It's possible they will never change. So what can you do about it? Deal with anything you need to deal with and let the emotion go. If you keep that hate, it's going to make you sick. If you keep that unfairness and that idea in your mind, often we stuff it into our body somewhere. We store it. It's like, okay, I hate that person. I hate that person. I hate that person. And you stuff that emotion inside your body, and then it makes you sick. So stop doing that. Gather up the emotion and let it go in some way. There's one person in my family who was mean and hurtful for no reason. And most of the time, I didn't have to interact with them. So I asked, literally prayed, that I be invisible to them. So they would come into the family home and then ignore me like I wasn't there, which was fine with me. It made my whole life a lot calmer. But if I needed to interact with them, fine, bring it on. But if I was being invisible, that helped me too. Now, asking to be invisible, you need to be careful because If I asked for it too much, then when I went to the store, the automatic door would not open for me. When I got to the signal, the stoplight would not change. So be careful what you ask for. You may get it. I was being too much invisible. So that's one tool you can use is being invisible. But if you're supposed to interact with them, then do it. So the question is, how much energy are you spending hating or disliking or rerunning that same experience over and over again instead of loving and appreciating your life and being grateful? So where is your focus? Are you focused on being joyful and noticing the good things? Or are you focusing on the yucky stuff that you've already dealt with, but you're holding that emotion? So, if you're in an awful situation, maybe you're breaking up with your partner, your relationship is going nowhere, and you need to exit it. So, let that experience play through. But you don't have to fight it. Let God take care of it. Maybe there's a situation where someone has hurt you and you've dealt with what you can, and then let it go. Stop replaying it. I know there's some high school situations I can replay and replay and replay. They were unfair. Well, me replaying it over and over again does not help anything. Doesn't help me move forward in life. And the person or the situation doesn't care. It's not going to affect them if I'm replaying. So stop and think. Why is that experience repeating? Why does it keep happening again and again? Why is that unfair situation, that unfair person keep coming back in my life? What is it about that situation I'm not getting? What lesson am I not learning? So, lessons keep repeating until you get it, until you figure out what's going on. Some people marry the same kind of person over and over and over again. So you've married the same mean, hurtful person 3 times. Not literally, but the same kind of person 3 times. Why do you keep doing that? What do you need to figure out? What do you need to understand to let go of that and move on with your life into a happier situation? I know I've talked about I had a negative fiance that was mean and would be illogical. And finally, I figured out I don't need to be with them. I do not need to be with them. So I'm not with them and I just let them go. So, what are you missing about a situation or about a person that you need to figure out? So, an example I would give a suggestion to a group of people and be completely ignored. And then, like 2 minutes later, someone would rephrase my words and give the same exact suggestion, and they would be praised about how wonderful they were, how wonderful that idea was. It's like I just said that. The same thing would happen with, I would be in a wonderful situation, and then I would be ignored. For instance, I told this story before, I think. I was a finalist for a presidential award, and I was at a gathering of Nobel laureates. And all the people who were finalists for the presidential award were asked to stand. And people were recognized and asked questions, and I was completely ignored, like I wasn't even there. And I had not asked to be invisible. So I was not feeling worthy, and I was ignored. Well, in past lives, that's happened to me where I didn't feel worthy and I was ignored. And I brought that up again in this life. And it's a lesson I needed to figure out so it didn't repeat. And it kept repeating over and over again in this lifetime until I figured it out. What is the reason for repeating lessons? You need to figure it out, or they keep repeating. What is the reason? What can you do about it? How can you understand it? So stop and reflect. If you have a repeating lesson, what is it about that that you need to understand? Ask your spirit guide, ask your angel for infusion, ask God for infusion. What is it about that lesson you need to understand? And I always ask for it to be abundantly clear. What am I supposed to be getting from this? Of course, it took me decades to figure out the worthiness thing, but I finally figured it out. So, if you have trouble figuring out what is the root or what is the cause of repeating lessons, ask for help from your guides, ask for help from the other side. If you still can't get it, go to a therapist, go to a hypnotist, and figure out what is the root of this. Why does this keep repeating? It'll make your life easier. Things will smooth out and you'll flow easier in life. So we have awful situations. Okay, you came into life to overcome things. And a lot of times we don't figure out how to overcome them. We just concentrate on the problem, focus on the problem, focus on the unfairness, focus on the illogical people in our lives. Instead, we need to overcome the problem. What is it about that problem that you need to figure out? We struggle and fight with life's lessons and stop the flow. Life is not fair, but focus on overcoming instead of focusing on the problem. No, you are very brave. You came into life on Earth, which is the most difficult planet, and not everyone's allowed to come here. Only the bravest are allowed to come here. So thank you for coming and pat yourself on the back. You came into life and it's a hard thing and you're doing well. You are surviving this silly life that we chose. We wrote these hard lessons in, and then when we get here, we can't figure out what was the lesson we wanted to learn. What do I need to get over from a past life? So allow God to